All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm joined once again. It's been a long time since I've had Kathy O'Brien on. Kathy, thank you so much. You're like the go-to person for me on all things MK Ultra. You are a victim of this. You've suffered in the hands of the elite. You just recently, I saw a viral video come up once again that I haven't seen in years, talking about the hunting parties amongst the elite. This to a lot of people, used to be conspiracy, sound crazy, but now with the Epstein files dropping and everyone finding out all the dirt on these sickos, you should be larger than life now. People need to be watching you and listening to you. So I'm giving you a platform. Absolutely. You've been talking about this. You've been sounding the alarm bells for a very, very long time. Kathy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me on. It's always good having a discussion with you. You're so astute as to what in the world is going on and how MK Ultra does figure into it. I've been speaking out on MK Ultra mind control and healing from it for over 35 years. And I'm real fortunate to have survived my victimization to reach this point of seeing people finally ready to grasp the information and see what in the world has been going on and what's happening with our children.
Yeah, I'm gonna play something here. One of the videos that I saw, and I'm just gonna go ahead and play it right now. That I saw, that I came across, that I was like, wow, she's finally, it's back out there. It's got like almost 1 million views or something like that. And there's other videos of yours that have gone way past this one. But let me go ahead and play this.
And when a mind control slave such as myself was stripped of clothes and turned loose in the woods, I was then hunted by George Bush, Dick Cheney, and Bill Clinton, among others. But they were the main ones. I do not believe that it was necessary for them to have subjected me to this form of trauma. There were so many other traumas going on at the time. My mind was already prime conditioned for mind control program. So I really don't understand it, except for the fact that they found great pleasure in this form.
So that's a lot said on there. Let's get into this. So I know, so in case my audience has never heard about you or know of you, let's recap on your history a little bit. You were, I guess, you were obviously sexually abused. You were groomed as a child, right, at a very young age among the elites. Do you want to go into it and just kind of recap on the other things we've talked about on previous shows, and then we'll get into these hunting parties?
Yes, I was MK Ultra victim. I was used on a White House, Pentagon level. I was deep in the Washington, D.C. swamp among these perpetrators that steal elections, use drug and human trafficking across open borders to fund their globalist agenda, and are using mind control to usher it in. And I am a survivor of that mind control. The formula for mind control was brought into the U.S. through Project Paperclip. When we imported the Nazi and fascist scientists into the U.S., with them came that formula for mind control. It had been found through Hitler-Himmler research that there's no trauma more horrific on the human mind than sexual abuse of a child prior to age 5, while the brain is still forming. And trauma is the basis of mind control. The pedophile agenda we're seeing is a mind control agenda, and it's intended to create a compliant society that is willing to put aside their free will to dumb down far enough to align with artificial intelligence and comply with this globalist agenda. I was used from infancy on. My father was sexually abusing me from infancy and using me in child pornography and trafficking me to my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge, where local politicians hung out. And when he was caught sending child pornography of me through the U.S. mails around 1960, he was told by the local politician I'd been trafficked to since I was a little bitty toddler. that he could receive immunity from prosecution if he'd sell me into MK Ultra mind control. And he did. And he also received lucrative military contracts. It shows how long our courts have been corrupted to allow for the proliferation of pedophilia. So people are seeing now, you know, with the Epstein files coming out and everything else, they're seeing how crimes against humanity have all the evidence behind them, but we're not prosecuting those like the Clintons and many others that are caught up in these crimes. It's because the justice system's been corrupted under national security. What we're seeing these days isn't new. What's new is that we're finally seeing it. That politician was Gerald Ford. He went on to become the unelected president of the United States. As his political career escalated, so too did my victimization in MK Ultra mind control. So that's a very brief history of my experience, which is documented in my 1995 testimony for Congress, Transformation of America.
So the reason I have this picture of Bad Bunny up here is because they're hiding this out in the open. And I mean, they're not hiding anymore. That's what I meant. This is out in the open.
Right.
This is going to be on the Super Bowl. This guy is dressed in drag, very demonic, all red. They're after our children publicly now, correct?
Yes, they have been for my whole life, you know, and having experienced stuff. I've waited a lifetime for people to wake up and face this reality so that we can take a stand for the children's sake. You know, when I was being trafficked as a young child and used in blackmail videos, that was all the way back, you know, in 1960 on. I'm 68 years old, and it's taken this long for people to embrace that reality. Now we're at a point where child sex trafficking is one of the most lucrative businesses in the world. And it's got to stop. And it's
I think
to stop it.
I think a big stake in the heart. I mean, obviously, people like you that come out and talk about this stuff, no doubt about it. I mean, you were causing dents, right? Dents, repetitive dents, and but not enough to sink the ship. I think now with movies like The Sound of Freedom that they try to put on the shelf, not come out, although it wasn't as graphic as what you know, according to your stories and the things you entail and you went through, it didn't go into that graphic detail, but it was enough to show the world, you know, this is a problem and it's bigger than any. Children are the number one commodity, correct? Among elites, among traffickers, it's bigger than heroin, cocaine, meth, sex sells, and it's children that sell the most, right? And the biggest consumer is America.
Yeah, so much of the pedophile agenda is rooted in blackmail. And these perpetrators, these puppet masters at the top, these self-appointed, self-anointed global leaders that are funding their agenda with the human trafficking, they don't trust each other. They don't trust each other either. So they hold each other by the blackmail, so to speak. So these blackmail vaults have been around my whole life, and they're massive, and it's to keep people in line because it's really against human nature to do the kind of horrific child trafficking and child harvesting that's been going on, that's finally coming out with the Epstein files.
Did you ever think you'd live to see the day that this stuff came out? I mean, and do you have Trump to thank? Because we all know, I mean, people in my audience know that this has been an operation from the get-go. And every time something like this happens, they go, oh, we knew you were right. But as they're waiting, they're like, oh, when is it going to happen? When's this going to happen? When's that going to happen? And then when something like this comes out, they're like, whoa. You even have Bill Maher apologizing to the QAnon people. He's apologizing. So, I mean, this is real. This, to me, it always has been an operation. I recognize strategy from being a fighter.
Yep.
What's your thoughts now? Are you like, oh my God, I cannot believe this stuff is coming out now. The Epstein files finally came out.
Well, it's way past time that it did. I mean, 2016, President Trump was showing us that there's a swamp in Washington, D.C., and a globalist agenda eroding our constitutional values. He showed us their funding mechanism of drug and human trafficking across open borders and did all he could to close our border. He showed us the sexualization of children that was going on to create a compliant society. And still, people had a hard time wrapping their brains around the magnitude of it all. Now, we hear people have been saying for the last few years, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files. Well, that's like, if we pull that thread, we can unravel this globalist agenda. There's so much more involved in it than sex. There's more involved in perversion. There's horrors beyond the human imagination that are involved in this that we need to face, and people need to realize we share this planet with a very dark, negative, low vibration energy force. They are not like us. They do not like us. It doesn't matter if we call them evil. It doesn't matter if we call them demons. It doesn't matter if we call them aliens. The fact is, we have the ability to stop them when we remember who we are, why we're here, and face the truth and the reality of that and take responsibility ourselves rather than waiting on someone to clean this mess up for us. It's up to us.
Right. And, Alex Jones just came out with Patrick Byrne and said there's 3 million more Epstein files coming out that are going to be even worse than what's already come out. So I think they're just priming and lubing up the public to get ready for this big release that I've heard 3 million more files are going to come out. And there's even talk about Epstein being alive. What's your thoughts?
Of whether he is or whether he isn't. The point is, we need to understand that this has been going on a long time, and our children are at great risk. They've been trafficked and harvested for my whole lifetime, and it's a miracle that I'm even alive and survived to be able to witness this aspect. But people are realizing the extreme need to protect the children, and that we have a very corrupted system that is not prosecuting these perpetrators. It's because our justice system is run by them and corrupted by them and the blackmail videos, So we got a lot to do to clean this mess up. One person in Washington, D.C. Can't do it for us. You can't drain the swamp from the top down. You drain it from the bottom up. That means it's up to all of us to open our eyes to what's going on. Awareness is the first step towards positive, necessary change. And that change is up to us.
It's definitely being exposed at a level I've never seen before in my life. And I don't think anybody ever would have imagined that this would happen. And it's taken good people like you and others to make this happen. And you've just stayed in the front lines, just the tip of the spear of this. When you say kids have been trafficked and harvested, explain harvested. A lot of people will be like, okay, trafficked and harvested. What do they mean? What does she mean by, we understand trafficking, but what do you mean harvested?
They're killed and worse. And it's horrific what's been done with genetic alteration and cloning and everything else that the Clintons have been involved in. That's all part of my 1995 testimony for Congress that was censored under national security. It was censored under national security because the evidence was overwhelming. Every word in it was validated by clean members of law enforcement and intelligence, people in Secret Service. But the information was censored because Bill Clinton, the Clintons are mentioned in it for their human trafficking operations and their drug operations. And Bill Clinton was president at the time. So, of course, national security was invoked on it. But I've been talking about this forever because back in 1977, when Bill Clinton's Mina cocaine operations were already in full swing, Hillary Clinton was merging her satanic child harvesting aspect into it through Satanism. Roger Clinton, Bill Clinton's half brother, was part of an occult coven that my handler Wayne Cox was part of, and they were using adrenalized blood of traumatized satanic victims, and selling it. And that's where Hillary Clinton was part of the very base of adrenochrome. It was the precursor to it. It's how they found out about the adrenalized blood of the victims. So that merged into Bill Clinton's cocaine operations because they already had the trafficking lines set up, and there it went. So that's what I mean by the harvesting aspect. And it goes I don't know how it can go worse, but it expands into cloning and genetic operations from there. So there's a lot that's been going on in addition to the sexualization of children, which isn't as much about perversion as it is about control and dehumanizing humanity.
I've heard stories from very reliable and good sources that they were breeding. What I meant by harvesting also is that they're breeding children underground
Mhm.
at very young ages to have more children that never see the light of day. They're like kept in these cages. Their skin is pale and opaque or peak, whatever it is, and they're just malnutrition, and they're used just for deliberate torture. They're only used for torture to get their adrenal glands going, and then they're killed. Is there any truth to that? That these kids are actually harvested in that way, like bred underground? They never see the light of day, and they're only used for torturing purposes for adrenochrome.
It's not only used, it's not only done underground. Some of it's done, just in plain sight that people don't even notice or see is going on. We've all got to open our eyes to realize this has been going on for such a long time, and it's got to stop. And it's up to us. And it takes us realizing what's going on. It's been slow to emerge because people have a hard time wrapping their brains around the reality that we share this planet with something so dark and nefarious. But we do. And I think,
Uh,
the Clintons are a shining example of it. And we've been seeing that their crimes against humanity for a long time now, and nothing's been done about it.
for people that can't grasp or just look at how we harvest chickens, poultry, fish, cattle. We do that to animals. We have slaughterhouses for animals. You don't think the elites are doing that to us? It's common sense when you really look at it. You just can't imagine that any human being would do that to another human being, but they're the same people that coordinate and orchestrate all these wars, that coordinate and orchestrate 9/11. They don't care about you. In fact, they hate human beings. They hate anything of God. That's how sick this is. Look at Gaza. Look what's happening in Gaza, killing hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of young children and women. This is not to them. This is nothing, right, Kathy? The hurting children is like the ultimate pleasure for these people.
It's a power trip for them, and it's multifaceted. There's other people that where they can drug them and film them in perverse acts with the children and use it for blackmail over their head, because the reality is there's not that many of them. Follow the money and go to the handful of puppet masters at the top. We need to pull that curtain aside and see it's just a small handful pulling levers, their media voice and everything else, to appear to be more than they are. And one of the ways that they do it is with blackmail and coercion and buying people off. They have all different ways, but blackmail is their primary method of doing it, and the children are used for that.
Let's talk about your experiences. You've experienced all of this firsthand, you yourself, and you've seen other children uh, harmed in this way as well. Correct?
Absolutely, and there's so many who haven't survived, and I feel so.
When you say haven't survived, are you saying that we're killed right then and there, or don't survive the trauma of this, and then they self-eliminate or they self-delete later in life, or they just don't make it into the
Uh,
being 18, 19 years old. When you say don't survive, like, is it both? Do they die at the hands of these people right then and there, or is it mainly they just don't survive as they grow older?
It's a vast array of reasons. We've got those like Michael Jackson, who is one of the most notorious MK Ultra victims, and he's certainly no longer with us. We look back on JonBenet Ramsey and what really happened with that, with the strangulation. How was it that she was strangled? There were many that were so sexually abused. Orally sexually abused that they couldn't breathe and suffocated. Many have died in many different ways through this, and they don't care. They don't care about human life. They don't care about animals either, because people who abuse animals abuse children, and who abuse children abuse animals. It's no regard for life at all, and it's just their own power trip. Again, they're not like us. They do not like us, and it's hard to imagine how somebody can feed off of that. But they're a low vibration, dark negative energy force that feeds off of low vibration. So they feed off of fear, they feed off of trauma, division, hatred. That's their vibration. They're doing everything they can to keep us from um, our our humanity, because when we have our free thought, free will, soul expression, we have the ability to go within and align with the divine within and gather the strength of the human spirit, tap into the infinite power of love, remember who we are and why we're here, and live our life's purpose. That vibration is so high they can't touch it. So the only thing they can do is use trauma and mind control, traumatic mind control, to control our minds so we can't think to go within and gather that strength, the human spirit. We have the saving grace within us. We've got the victory within us. We just forgot because we're so distracted by all the traumas and everything else going on out here, and all the mind manipulation of repetitive media narrative and controlled information, that we've forgot the amazing resiliency of body, mind, and spirit that we have within us. It's just a matter of being able to tap into that and realize it and live that higher vibration. And I live the love I am every day. I stay aligned with the divine because I know they're not going to get any more fear from me. They're not going to get any more. They got that the first 30 years of my life under mind control. That's their vibration. I'm going to live my vibration. And the thing is, their darkness can't creep in on our light. Our light exposes what's going on in their darkness. So it's a matter of us remembering that we've got that victory and raise our vibration and keep it there, instead of allowing ourselves to be brought down to their level that they feed off of, and the level they want us at, to align us with artificial intelligence. That is a DARPA generated plan that's been going on my whole life to dumb us down to that level. And we don't have to be at that level. Wisdom outthinks their criminal mind every time. It's a matter of reclaiming our free thought first, our free will, and aligning with the divine within. And we've got the wisdom to outthink their criminal minds and to stop this nefarious, dark agenda that they've been imposing for generations now.
Let's talk about Hillary Clinton for a second. I've heard she's a practicing witch, a practicing Satanist witch. We've all heard about Frazzle Drip, where she tortured a child in upstate New York somewhere, and FBI and police officers saw the video and were almost projectile vomiting, throwing up everywhere, crying. They've all disappeared. How bad are the Clintons?
They're that bad. They're not like us. And Hillary is it's so off the scale horrendous. There's no reason that she shouldn't be prosecuted. The crimes that the Clintons were guilty of and caught with evidence guilty of in the early 90s. The Clinton hit list was circulating through the mail before the internet, and there were hundreds of names on the list back then. The Danny Casalleros, the reporters that tried to bring the truth to light that were killed. Suicided became a term associated with the Clintons.
Yeah.
The drug and human trafficking has been the funding mechanism of this globalist agenda this dark agenda for a long time, and they have been key components of it. Bill on the drug end and Hillary on the human trafficking end, not only through MK Ultra mind control, not only through the State Department using slaves like I was, but also the satanic child harvesting. And it's not so much of a worship of Satan. They see themselves as even more than that, that they're the all powerful, and they maintain their power by feeding off of negativity. And I mean that very literally. When you start looking at the adrenochrome and the frazzle drip and the things that are coming out now with the Epstein files.
Now, here's your book, Transformation. And this, I really highly recommend this to my audience. It's here on Amazon. You can get it at Amazon. So, folks, please go over there and buy a book. Give her, and obviously support Kathy O'Brien. So, you said that you experienced hunting parties. You experienced a lot. So, I just want to touch on this. That's what's circulating right now. That there's things that some people find hard to believe, right? They'll be like, "Oh, hunting parties, I don't know about that." But to me, they've made movies about this, Surviving the Game. There's so many movies that they've made about people being hunted, and you think, well, that's crazy. Maybe out there somewhere there's an elite group of people that do that, but this is actually pretty common, correct?
Yes, and the first time I was hunted was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, at Dick Cheney's hunting preserve there. And
you were hunted by Dick Cheney?
Well, that was the first time. That was when I was 17. And the reason that they do it, they use it as a trauma base to condition a person to think they have no place to run and no place to hide. Because when a person is turned loose without any clothes, and dogs and people and guys with guns are hunting them, it's very traumatic and overwhelming. That was taken from a military maneuver and brought into the private sector through the Cheneys and the Bushes and the Clintons, that do that as a deliberate conditioning trauma base for MK Ultra mind control.
And Dick Cheney, he's an avid hunter.
Yes.
This guy is, I'm going to pull up a picture of him. He's an avid hunter, man. This guy loves to hunt. So does the Bush family. I mean, there's pictures all over the internet with them. And then there was an actual accident with Dick Cheney and somebody else. I can't remember who he killed, right? Or shot, or
his attorney. He shot his attorney in the face.
Did he die or
no? But Bush Jr. was in the office of president at the time. Bush Jr., I saw him hunted at Shasta. That's in my 1995 testimony for Congress, because he was being groomed for the presidency at MK Ultra. His own father was raising him to be in the office of president. George Bush ran our country through so many administrations behind the scene, including the Reagan administration, the assassination attempt on Reagan. It was so traumatizing. Bush had intended to eliminate him and take over the administration, but since Reagan survived it, they just mind controlled him and took over his administration from there. But George Bush Sr. has been running our country through many administrations, him and Bill Clinton. And it's in my testimony for Congress that it was going to be kept in the Bush-Clinton dynasties until Hillary Clinton was to usher in the New World Order 2016. Well, that didn't happen. Too many of us were awake and aware. But I saw Bush Jr. hunted there, and Dick Cheney was involved in that particular hunting incident, and of course his father was. So when a line that they would use is one that he gave when a reporter caught him off guard and asked him what he thought about Dick Cheney shooting his attorney. And Bush Jr. said, this is like what they teach us and traumatized us or conditioned us with in MK Ultra. He said, if he would shoot his attorney in the face, imagine what he would do to the likes of you. And
He
that is
said that.
their programming thing. If we would do this here, imagine what we do to the likes of you. And that was like, a constant phrase. So he was just quoting MK Ultra from the
Wow.
most dangerous game then. And the more you know, the more you hear, the more you see how long this has been going on, and how many presidencies have been manipulated by this globalist agenda.
So did George Bush, you said he was hunted. And I'm trying to think that, well, he obviously survived.
Right.
Is that why he became president, George Bush? He was hunted and he survived being hunted. Is that why he made it to the presidency? Or are some of these just exercises they use to traumatize and condition people and they don't really kill them?
Right. Well, it's just an exercise to traumatize. It's just one of many horrific, torturous traumas that are experienced in the MK Ultra mind control level of, White House, Pentagon level that we were experiencing. So some don't survive. I know there are many that are killed, and not necessarily in a most dangerous game, but in other ways, so that the trauma of knowing that your life is literally on the line is absolutely horrific. Like Bohemian Grove, the sacrifices that happen there aren't as much ritualistic as it is eliminating MK Ultra mind control slaves, and so that others see, oh well, all right, that the secrets, died with that person. So good, that's just what they do. And I was to be killed that way. I was supposed to go out in a blaze of glory at Bohemian Grove when I turned 30, because it was to show the global leaders that their secrets were going to die with me. Well, I had seen others die there, so I assumed that was going to happen. Very fortunately for me, Mark Phillips, intelligence insider, um, intercepted me at that point. And that's when he lifted my daughter and me out of the Washington, D.C. human trafficking swamp, and handed me keys to my own mind so that we could together begin exposing this mess. And it's what we did from that point going forward. But it was not uncommon for people to be killed, and for the victims of MK Ultra to know that others were being killed, so that they would comply with what they were supposed to be doing.
Have all the presidents been hunted the same way George W. Bush was?
No, he's the only one I saw hunted. I mean, Bush Senior was the one doing the hunting, and there's different forms of mind control that were used. When
was he hunted
Ronald
by his
Reagan,
own father?
pardon me?
Was he hunted by his own father, Bush Senior?
Yes, I mean Bush. That's what Bush did. That was his. He believed in the pedophile agenda. He believed in MK Ultra mind control to create a compliant society, and he believed that presidents should be put in positions of power just to be placed, not elected.
Was he hunted by
Elected.
Dick Cheney and his father? Who was George W. Bush hunted by? Was Dick Cheney hunting him, or Dick?
Bush Jr. was hunted by Cheney and his father.
Jeez. And they would have killed. I mean, did he survive? And I mean, obviously he survived, but I mean, were they really trying to kill him?
I did too. I was hunted at the same time, and I survived. So you never
like
know
running through a forest barefoot and naked, or what? Like what?
Yeah,
what?
yeah, and you don't know if you're going to survive or not. That's the point.
Okay, hold on.
That's the point.
Or do you have clothes? Do they give you weapons to fight back? Are you just released into this wilderness and they go find you with dogs?
Yeah. Just to find you with dogs, without any clothes, without any weapons, without any defense, to make you feel totally helpless, like there's no place to run and no place to hide. And that is such a strong conditioning of these perpetrators that when Mark Phillips came along, he said, there is a place to run right at them. And there is no need to hide. They're the ones who are committing the crimes. They're the ones who are hiding under national security and hiding in darkness. So we can turn around anything that they use nefariously and um, and expose what it is they're doing, because knowledge is our defense against their mind control. Understanding why they do what they do for control purposes requires understanding the way our brains respond to trauma. But that information's been withheld from mental health for generations, and from the education system. Mark Phillips found the information on our mind-brain function, our birthright information that's our defense against mind control and our defense against these perpetrators was buried under national security. Mark couldn't release the information, but he sure could do something about it. So he lifted my daughter and me out of the swamp and reminded me of that birthright information. It's within us all to heal. No matter what happens to us in life is not who we are. Who we are is still within us, and we can reclaim that. It's divinely protected. When we reclaim our free thought, free will, we're able to reclaim that birthright to live our life's purpose and who we are. And Mark reminded me of that. Our brains have been made perfect. They have been manipulated for generations, but they are resilient and they're much more expansive than what we use. People are much smarter than they think, literally, and we need to start thinking beyond what we think we know in order um, to expand our thinking and claim our victory.
Would you say the Bushes are worse than the Clintons, or the Clintons are they about the same? Are they
They
is
were the
anybody
best
worse
of
than each
friends.
other? What's that?
The best friends.
Wow.
No, how do you measure anything off that scale, evil? Anyway, you know.
It's just hard for people to. I mean, so many people are sheltered, man. I mean, only people that have been traumatized as children by, molested or hurt, they understand this. But there's a lot of people out there that have been sheltered, and they can't comprehend this evil. Like
I
they
know,
don't understand that this exists. Like, who would hurt a child, right?
right? When
Who would
when
not?
I when I
Who would hurt
woke
a
up
child for their own entertainment and self indulgence? Like, it's sick.
Yeah, when I woke up from mind control and began speaking out on my daughter's behalf because she was caught up in the corrupted Child Protective Services after being medically kidnapped from a hospital. Um, I was speaking out on her for her behalf, trying to raise awareness. That was in 1990. Nino, can you imagine talking about this in 1990?
No, no,
And
no, no.
I realized it, since
That
I
was probably
healed
the
from
height
within.
of them I mean, that was probably the worst of the worst time.
Well, since I'd healed from within myself, I was absolute in my truth. I knew the truth. I knew my own truth. So I didn't need to be validated by people outside of me. And it's a good thing because, I ended up realizing that good people couldn't wrap their brains around the information because they were innocent. It's like I didn't know good people even existed in the world when Mark Phillips rescued my daughter and me. And then I woke up like to the good side of life to realize there are good people in the world. Not only that, it's no wonder they couldn't see what was going on. Their brains can't wrap around it. And it's what has allowed this to go on for generations. Well, at this point, people are seeing it. They have been waking up now for several years, and they're having to face some really hard truths with the release of the Epstein files now. So those harsh truths, we'll find out. What we're seeing these days isn't new. What's new is that we're finally seeing it. If you want to see the roots of the corruption and the roadmap to it, read Transformation of America, because it revealed this information um, long ago, and it's time that people wake up to realize it so that we can effectively protect our children going forward.
You're one of the bravest souls I've ever met. Thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing your story. We love you. My audience loves you. Everyone loves you. I really appreciate you coming on. Here's your book, folks, Transformation of America. That's what it says, correct? Transformation of America.
Yep.
And you have
Yes.
another book too. What's the other one? The other one is
Yes, I have access denied for reasons of national security that shows the our journey through the corrupted justice and mental health system to affect my daughter's situation. I've got PTSD, Time to Heal.